Good morning. Welcome to today's meeting of the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs for the 2025 legislative session. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Assembly members Carter. Present. DeLong. Present. De Silva. Here. Edgeworth. Present. Flanagan. Here. Gallant. Here. Golding. Here. Gurr. Here. Hunt. Here. Jackson. Karras. Present. Kasama. Here. Wynn. Chair Considine.
I am here, and please record Assemblymember Jackson as present when they arrive. Welcome to the audience here in Carson City, those joining by video conference in Las Vegas, and those listening over the internet. I would like to begin this morning with some housekeeping measures. The first is please check and silence your electronic devices. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door and provide a business card to the committee secretary. When testifying, please turn the microphone on and clearly state your name and any affiliation for the record. Turn the microphone off each time you are done speaking. If you are providing handouts, please ensure that hard copies are available for members of the public. Electronic copies should have been submitted to our committee manager by 9 a.m. yesterday for our committee members. As always, we respect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we disagree with someone else's position. I encourage committee members to ask questions and engage with the material presented. If you have any follow-up questions, please flag them for me so we can ensure we balance our time effectively during today's meeting. Committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other documents. Please do not interpret this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. And with that, let's get started. Today, we will hear a presentation and two bills. The presentation is from the Nevada National Guard. Then we will hear Assembly Bill 281, which revises provisions relating to the state militia, followed by Assembly Bill 235, which revises provisions relating to healthcare providers. To ensure we get through everyone fairly and in a timely manner, we will set a 20-minute time limit for each period of support, opposition, and neutral testimony, with each speaker having 2 minutes. To ensure we allow as many people as possible to testify, please feel free to say ditto if someone else has already covered your testimony. However, before we begin the presentation, we have a bill draft request introduction this morning. We will introduce BDR number 20-1091, which revises provisions governing construction time in certain counties and cities. Remember, voting in favor of introducing a BDR does not imply a commitment to supporting the measure later. All this action does is allow the BDR to become a bill and enter the legislative hearing process. I will now entertain a motion to introduce BDR 20-1091. Assemblymember and Vice Chair Wynn made the motion. And is there a second? Yes, Assemblymember DeLong seconded the motion. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we will begin the presentation. First, we have Brigadier General D. Roger Waters from the Adjutant General of Nevada, and please go ahead and introduce your co-presenters when you are ready. Thank you.
Well, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Assembly Committee. So making up the senior leadership team for your Office of the Military is myself, Chief Warrant Officer Steve Nielsen, and Command Master Sergeant Cameron Peters. It's our pleasure to be here this morning, and please let us know if we can answer any questions during the presentation. Very quickly, to do our pre-combat checks, Assemblyman Nguyen, we have our paddle available? Because you know sometimes I need that. So I really appreciate that. And Madam Chair, our last meeting, I want to make sure I highlight something. You asked me specifically for an organizational chart. The biennial report that I provided on pages 22 and 23 actually provides that for everybody on the committee to review as we discuss or to refer to in the future. So your Nevada National Guard, The 17th Sustainment Brigade, we have approximately 250 personnel in 13 different countries throughout the Middle East. They're scheduled to return this summer. The 3665th Explosive Ordnance Disposal Detachment has approximately 30 personnel that departed 2 weeks ago for a one-year deployment to the Middle East. Currently, we have 3 non-commissioned officer development teams in Tonga, Fiji, and Samoa, helping set strategic partnerships throughout the Blue Pacific. Our activities since the last legislative session include the Davis Creek Fire, support of the National Science Foundation in Antarctica with one of our C-130s, 2 C-130s supporting the Los Angeles fires, Las Vegas New Year's Eve, Las Vegas Formula One Grand Prix since its inception, Super Bowl 58, 20 engagements in Tonga, 23 engagements in Fiji, 7 events in Samoa, over $100 million in drug seizures as part of our partnership with our Joint Task Force counter-drug efforts, and over 200 civil support team missions. And our civil support team is what provides chemical, emergency, medical, and biological response during a state emergency. If an unknown substance is found, for example, the CST is called out to support local partners, and that has been incredibly good for us. 180 Youth Challenge graduates with 43 current in the program. Yeah, that is definitely one of our highlights, and thank you for your support of that. 2,000 graduates of our Starbase Academies. We have a Starbase Academy in the north, Starbase High Sierra, sponsored by the 152nd Air Wing at the Reno Airport, and then we have one sponsored by the 72nd Military Police Company down in Henderson. That would be Starbase Starbase Henderson. Yeah, we just recently changed the name though. Unfortunately, I can't recall that right now. So, 2 amazing programs. Starbase Henderson is, or I should say, our Starbase programs specifically have to do with 5th graders with the science, technology, engineering, mathematics, ensuring that they stay attracted to those and interested in those programs throughout their formative years. And then, of course, our Battleborn Youth Challenge Academy specifically is a high school recovery program to get young people back on track, get them back in their high schools, and get them to graduate with their programs. The organization from the Army Guard, we have Brigadier General Lau and Command Sergeant Major Johnson. From the Air Guard, we have Brigadier General Chauvin and Chief Master Sergeant Thompson. From the Joint Staff, we have Colonel Cerfolio, soon to be Brigadier General Cerfolio, and Sergeant Major Franco. On the state admin, I have Miss Tyler and an amazing team. And then from the Division of Emergency Management, I have Director Compson that runs that. Next slide, please. So from our vision, just really quick to highlight that, it's taking care of our people. I truly believe if we take care of our people, they'll take care of our mission. And when I say our people, I don't only mean our members in uniform. I mean their families and our veterans, working hand in hand with the Nevada Department of Veterans Services to provide that care overall that encompasses basically the holistic life of a service member. And then our vision is a mission ready for domestic and contingency operations, so missions at home and overseas. Next slide, please. Very quickly, highlighting all the facilities we have. So, 2 points I would definitely bring of interest. The Hawthorne Army Depot. The Army has made an $18 million investment in a multi-purpose range complex. We've already broken ground that should be available for our soldiers, specifically Nevada National Guard, though will be a federal facility within the next 2 years. And that way we can definitely do weapons qualification in-state. We no longer would have to travel to California, Idaho, Utah, other states. We can do it right in-house. And that definitely speeds our available times to make sure the readiness of our soldiers and airmen. And then at the Nellis Air Force Base on the lower right, you'll see actually crossed out the small arms qualification range. The Army recently made an adjustment to the safety designation zones of ranges. That range no longer meets the requirement, so we've canceled that with the State Public Works Board. And so we're moving forward with other opportunities for construction. Next slide, please. Just highlighting a couple of these points for our strategic priorities. The lower right, the last 4 bullets, the UNLV Resiliency Partnership. Resiliency is a huge piece, mental preparedness, overall holistic health for our soldiers and airmen and their families as they prepare to do operations, as people prepare to deploy, making sure those families have everything they need. Our relationship with UNLV is just sprouting. They actually have a resiliency program. We're going to call it a phase 3 of our Purple Resolve, making sure we've got got a longer-term care, longer-term health product available for our soldiers and airmen if they have some issues with behavioral health to make sure, or mental health, to make sure they get the care they need. And UNLV is already working with the state police department on that, the Department of Public Safety, and so we're just piggybacking on their operation and making sure that one will be developed specifically for the Office of the Military. The modular airborne firefighting system is another effort. I will tell you right now, it's very inspiring when you talk to an Army officer, and they'll tell you the #1 priority for the state of Nevada is C-130J recapitalization. Right now, we have C-130H models. We're one of only 4 states remaining right now that has H models. It's a legacy system. It's going away. The J model is the wave of the future, and basically my concern of this, to use a metaphor, is one day the music's going to stop and someone's going to be left without a chair. My job is to make sure Nevada's not left without a chair, that we have a chair to sit down. Our unit is one of the top C-130 units for J's and H's throughout the country. MAFS is a big mission, as you know. This is actually the firefighting capability for the C-130, dropping slurry and water, 3,000-gallon tank on that. Cameron, Chief Master Sergeant Peters, is actually a flight engineer qualified on MAFS, so he can talk to any questions you may have on that. But we're one of only 4 units that has that capability in the country for wildland firefighting. So 1,200 jobs, 250 full-time jobs, and what I'm telling you, there's no replacement for that unit. If we don't get J models, we will lose those positions in the Nevada National Guard and the state of Nevada. So that's a critical, and so my whole point was it's very inspiring to hear an Army officer, when you say, what are the priorities, what's the #1 priority for the Nevada National Guard, and you'll hear an Army officer say C-130J acquisition, and the C-130J obviously is an Air Force platform. Top 5 in recruiting, that goes for our Army and Air side, and top 5 in readiness. And I would add, we're also top 5 in attrition. So we've closed the back door, making sure our trained folks, the folks we've made an investment in, that they want to stay. And then we continue with the recruiting efforts to put people in. Now, because we've closed the back door, that means there's less opportunities in the Nevada National Guard for new people to come in. I'll tell you right now, as we sit here today, I only have 5 vacancies throughout the entire Army National Guard. And so if somebody wants to come in, take advantage of the benefits of the military that's provided, take advantage of the benefits that the state of Nevada has provided, such as tuition waiver. Unfortunately, I only have 5 vacant positions, and I already have a list of people that want to get in. So yes, I would tell you right up front, there is a recruiting issue. I don't know if I'd call it a crisis. Nationwide, Nevada has not experienced that. We continue to set the pace. We're battle-born and battle-tested and battle-ready. Next slide, please. The state employees, I would tell you, I am truly blessed by an incredible team of approximately 100 people that do amazing work for the state of Nevada, all the way from senior administrators to janitors that make our facilities run. And everybody knows our mission. We work together to make sure we have ready units and people for operations both domestically and overseas. But a great group of folks, they provide our family service, psychological health, and other great events. Next slide, please. Our Division of Emergency Management, as you probably know, there is a bill right now to separate the Nevada National Guard from the Division of Emergency Management. I should probably say that in reverse. Remove the Division of Emergency Management away from the Office of the Military. And if you have any questions on that, I would basically direct those to Director Compston or Deputy Director, Deputy Administrator Lucy, because they would have that information. Their purpose, basically what it comes down to is we want to send a message during emergencies that there's effective governance and there's a return to normalcy, and people are getting the support they need. The great partnership we have with the DEM, of course, is the Nevada National Guard, along with our community partners, the police departments, the fire departments, emergency managers at the local level, the county level. We very quickly bond together. We've got great relationships that already exist, so it allows us to respond very quickly to any emergency within Nevada, such as Hurricane Hillary that happened. And we exercise these through our standard operations, regular operations, such as I already said, New Year's Eve, and Formula One. So we're always regularly exercising those threads, those relationships, those actions to ensure that if there's ever anything that happens in Nevada, that we're ready to go. Next slide, please. Very quickly on this slide, what I'll under future on the right-hand side, there's 4 sub-bullets for critical infrastructure, working very closely with FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security, ensuring that we have the plans from an emergency aspect, from a partnership aspect, from a state Homeland Security aspect, to ensure there's power available, fuel, communications, and logistics. What we've identified is these are the 4 critical areas that during an emergency, that we have to have set up or respond immediately, recover immediately, so we can ensure we've got those systems out, again, to send that message to the public that everything's going well, we're moving forward, and we've got this I don't want to say necessarily complete, but we're moving in the right direction. Next slide, please. With that, I'll open it up to any questions concerning the Nevada National Guard or the or the Division of Emergency Management.
Thank you so much for that presentation. Committee members, do we have any questions? We will begin with Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate it. I actually have 2 questions. Well, let me know when I can ask the second. Thank you very much for the presentation. Very informative. I have a question about the C-130s. What's the difference between the H and J models?
Dan Waters, the Adjutant General, for the record. I'm going to turn that over to Chief Master Sergeant Peters. Like I said, he is one of our senior flight engineers and has extensive hours on the machine, both in the United States, CONUS, and outside of the United States.
Good morning. Yes, the difference between the C-130H model, the legacy, my name is Command Chief Master Sergeant Cameron Peters. I'm the Command Senior Enlisted Leader of the Nevada National Guard, for the record. The difference between the C-130H model and the C-130J model is range and actual ability to carry more cargo. It has 2 more pallet positions in that aircraft than the H model does, and it actually more modern. It actually has longer legs. So when we need to get to places out in the Blue Pacific, we can do that. Not to mention performance-wise, it allows more performance and safety during wildland fire missions.
Madam Chair, Dan Waters, Adjutant General, for the record. And so when we say long legs, that's a military term for longer range, is what that means.
May I ask my second question? Thank you. As it relates to last slide, you had the issue on fuel. Is there a contingency plan to deal with the fact that both for Vegas, Reno, Nellis, and Fallon, we rely on California and the pipelines? And should those go down in California, is there a contingency plan to deal with fuel supply in our metropolitan and rural areas?
Oh, I thank you for that question. Dan Waters, Adjutant General, for the record. We do have plans. We have all hazard plans. If you want the specifics of those, I would definitely direct you to Administrator Compton. But as the Nevada National, as Nevada, the state of Nevada recently experienced with the pipeline pumping problems down in Las Vegas. Very quickly, we were able to exercise the plan, have backup operations, whether that was tankers or some type of other delivery system. Yes, those are logistically heavy, but we have the capability to do that, why we could do, why the system would be brought back up online. But I don't want to make that sound like it's easy. Those are definitely seriously challenging events, and working with civilian partners to make sure that that flow, whatever that is, logistics in this case specifically fuel, but let's say it was food stuff, anything that Nevada citizen would potentially need after an emergency, we have plans for that.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Assemblymember Kasama.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Brigadier General and leadership team. You touched briefly on it. My question was, I believe it was last session that we allocated funding for the range in Las Vegas, and you kind of touched that was no longer viable. And so is that money being allocated to the Hawthorne group, or just what happened there?
Dan Waters, Adjutant General, for the record. Thank you for that question, ma'am. Yes, with that, as of this morning, that money is being redirected to another facility for the Nevada National Guard, an aviation facility, a hangar specifically for our CH-47s out at Stead. The facility at Hawthorne's, the range complex at Hawthorne, is 100% federal. What we were doing in the southern Nevada is we were going to create a range that was 100% state. So we had that capability to have a range basically in northern or northern-ish Nevada, and then in southern Nevada. Southern Nevada, I'll be frank with you, Assemblywoman, is still one of my concerns. That's where we house approximately 75% of our troops. So a movement to Hawthorne, though doable, is still a big muscle move for us. I don't have a solution on that for a range complex in the south. I'm working on that. One of the concerns, though, is environmental. Because, of course, when the Department of Defense moves in, lead contamination, those things, those typically bring a lot. Abatement programs typically bring high costs. And what we're trying to do is make sure that we go to an existing facility. That's why we were working with the county initially. But once the military, the Department of Defense came back again with those restricted safety designation zones, it made that position untenable for us. So we are looking for other options. But we'll see where that goes. I can't promise you anything yet. We're definitely working with the state on that to identify some land. But the money, the money for that range, like I said, was redirected towards another National Guard facility. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Goulding.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, General. My heart is with BBYCA, so thank you so much for giving us a little bit of information on that. Can you tell us how many graduates so far, and how many enrolled right now? What's the capacity? So how much growth in the current size do we have? The current class sizes are for potential classes.
Thank you for that question, Assemblywoman. Dan Waters, the Adjutant General. For the record, this is a true Nevada story. Helping Nevadans get back on track, become productive citizens. I'll just tell you up front, I know as you and I have talked, and just for the other members of the committee, I definitely have a concern of where the Department of Defense budget is going concerning youth programs. Depending on what happens, if you're unfamiliar, I should say, let me take a step back. If you're unfamiliar, our star-based programs specifically were only funded at a third, 33% of their required budget for the year. The state of Nevada, with Governor Lombardo's leadership, stood up and actually committed the funds to keep the doors open of our star-based academies for the entire year through September. Youth programs does not have anything to do with recruiting, with lethality, or military readiness, mission readiness. That's why I'm not sure where, and I don't want to predict anything, but that's why I'm not sure ultimately where youth programs falls in the priorities of the Department of Defense. That said, those programs bring great value to the state. I think we've turned lives around, we've changed lives. 200 graduates, to answer your question directly, from our Youth Challenge Academy. We have 43 cadets in the program right now. Our program has the capacity for 100 students per class. There's 2 classes. They basically run on traditional semesters, so that would be 200 students per year that Nevada could potentially graduate. Our limiting factor right now is, again, funding that comes from the federal level. We are funded for 45 to 50 students, and so we were right on track. So, and unfortunately, that 45 to 50 is a recruiting mark that doesn't necessarily account for attrition of people that don't make it through the program type of thing. And that's why we're down to 43 right now. Yes, ma'am.
And our next question is from Assemblymember Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. Thank you for the presentation. You talked about, sounded like you're pretty well staffed, but you talked about New Year's Eve down south and also F1 and Super Bowl. And so I'm wondering what type of impact that has on your manpower and bandwidth, because one's an annual that we know is going to happen, but these other ones are new events that are developing. And as we prepare for terrorist threats and things like that, what type of impact does that have on you working with the other law enforcement agencies that are called into play as well?
Dan Waters, the Adjutant General. For the record, actually, it's a great opportunity for us because what it allows me to do is exercise our domestic readiness. In the National Guard, we wear 2 hats. We wear a federal hat that all our equipment is federally supplied. But under the agreements of the Dick Acts, in early 20th century, the states control those federal assets for readiness for state mission domestic operations under the governor's control as the commander-in-chief. When we federalize, that's when we fall under the president as the commander-in-chief. So day-to-day operations, when you see a member of the Nevada National Guard, the members that you're seeing in front of you right now, we actually respond directly to the state in our current status. So is there a challenge? Of course, because what it ultimately comes down to is a balance between readiness for our domestic mission, which may not necessarily align specifically the tasks that are required in that domestic mission, may not necessarily align perfectly with our federal missions. That said, what I always say is our domestic readiness comes from our wartime preparations. So everything we do is focused towards a dual role, to be prepared for the state mission and to be prepared for the federal mission. But there are resource limitations, there's no doubt. We only get funded for 39 training days a year. And yet I have to meet, our soldiers and airmen have to meet the exact same readiness and qualification standards as the active component that's funded for 365 days a year. So do I get some efficiencies? Yes. Are there some requirements for training and additional qualifications after mobilization for like a federal mission? Yes, ma'am. But that is built into the system specifically on the federal side. What we don't have is the capability to mobilize forces on the state side and then train them up and try to get them ready for something that already happened. Because usually on the state side, that is a reactive deployment. On the federal side, it's a proactive deployment. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Committee, are there any other questions? Seeing none, I want to thank you for your service, your presentation, and everything you do for the state and for the nation. And we will now move to Assembly Bill 281. I'm now opening the hearing. I'll give you a moment to get prepared. AB 281 revises provisions relating to the state militia. To present this measure, we have our own Assembly Member De Silva, and the Assembly Member will introduce his co-presenters. Please go ahead when you are ready.
Thank you, Chair Constantine and members of the committee. I am Ruben De Silva, representing Assembly District 28 in Clark County. I will be presenting Assembly Bill 281, which revises provisions relating to the state militia. Before I summarize the bill, I would like to briefly review the factors that led to this recommendation, which emerged from the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Government Affairs. During the interim, we heard from the Office of the Military regarding the challenges and needs our service members face, including relating to compensation. Specifically, discussions focused on how the state benefits for members killed while on state active duty do not match benefits on the federal level. The Office of the Military highlighted that compensation differs significantly at the state level compared to the federal level. In Nevada, existing law entitles any member of the state militia or his or her dependents to certain compensation pursuant to the Nevada Industrial Insurance Act or the Nevada Occupational Disease Act if the member is wounded, injured, disabled, or killed while in the line of duty in service of the state, with certain exemptions. Furthermore, certain compensation and benefits, one, must be determined based on the member's average income during the year immediately preceding the injury, death, or the commencement of the disability, and two, must not exceed certain maximum amounts prescribed by the Nevada Industrial Insurance Act or the Nevada Occupational Disease Act. Unfortunately, the Office of the Military explained it can be difficult for members and their families to access the benefits they should receive, citing one example of a widow who was struggling to receive the support she needed. For these reasons, the Interim Committee voted unanimously to pass a recommendation to make such compensation equivalent to that provided by federal authorities. So the bill, Assembly Bill 281, would change this compensation mechanism to instead provide that the member or the dependents of the member are entitled to receive compensation and benefits equivalent to federal compensation or benefits the member would be entitled to receive if the wound, injury, disability, or death arose from military duty performed pursuant to Title 10 or Title 32 of the United States Code. There's a proposed amendment. Okay. Additionally, the Office of the Military proposed an amendment which is available on Nellis. This amendment would define a Nevada National Guard employee as follows. Any person performing full-time duty in the active military service of the state under an order of the governor issued pursuant to authority vested in the governor by law and includes the entire 24-hour day that active state duty is performed. It would also adjust the definition of active state duty to include the entire 24-hour day that active state duty is performed. Finally, it would slightly adjust language referring to cases where militia members are wounded, disabled, or killed from in the line of duty in the service of the state to on active state duty. This change is meant to remove ambiguity about the circumstances in which this bill would apply. At this time, I also want to allow Assemblymember Ken Gray, a veteran, 26-year veteran of the Air Force, to also make some opening remarks, and then we'll also turn it over to General Waters then to describe why this bill is needed at this time. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Considine. For the record, Assemblyman Ken Gray. Good morning to the rest of the committee. This is beginning to be a regular habit, so good morning. There's not much I'm going to be able to add to what General Waters and Assemblymember De Silva has to say, so I'm going to just throw a couple things out there real quick. I was lucky enough to spend about my last 8 years on active duty with the Nevada National Guard, learned a lot about them, a lot about their missions. One of the misconceptions many people have is if you put the uniform on, where you see somebody, all benefits are equal. What a lot of people don't realize is there are many things in federal law and state law that differentiate the status. So you've got Title V, you have Title 10. Under Title 10, there's several other subsections to that. Then under Title 32, you get into your AGRs, which are your active guard and reserves. Then you have Title 10 ADSW, which is a whole other realm. And then you've got your SAD. The benefits are not always commensurate with each other, which usually isn't a problem until you get to the state active duty portion. I'm going to take you back a few years, and I also do want to, for the record, mention that my daughter is a National Guardsman. She's a tanker down out of Vegas, tank officer, love her to death. But so there is a personal connection to this, as well as I still have a lot of friends like Cam, who I used to work with, and Mr. Nielsen. So I want to make sure these guys are taken care of, because in, what year was it, 2005, I think it was 2005, when Hurricane Katrina, there you go. Ooh, having a momentary lapse of oxygen to the brain. When that hit, there was a lot of confusion on how we were going to respond to that. Louisiana had reached out to us. We did have an emergency management assistance compact in place with them. So the first thing they did, because it was not declared a federal disaster yet, even though FEMA had already begun to move in, there was a lot of wheels turning. We were between Governor Gibbons and Adjutant General Kirkland, we were activated under state active duty. You can imagine the conversations that arose right there at the very junior levels and the senior levels, because a lot of people in the Guard at your junior levels don't even know what state active duty is. Those of us at the senior levels were trying to figure out, okay, what applies? When does it apply? What are our authorities under posse comitatus? There was a lot of things that had to be decided. One of the things that worried me was we're going into an area that we know is now dangerous. We literally flew in as the sun was almost totally down into Louis Armstrong Airport in rain, wind, and no landing lights. So it was hairy from the very beginning. There was all kinds of reports of looters and rioters and snipers and whatnot. But one of the things that concerned me is what happens if somebody gets hurt, killed, or injured before this is declared a federal emergency and we are converted to a Title 10 or a Title 32 status. So bringing it back full circle, this bill will establish some parity, and that's one thing this body has tried to do over the years, is establish some parity between all of our uniform-wearing folks. You'll remember last session, for those of you that were here, we had a bill that was brought by myself and Assembly Speaker Yeager that actually brought parity to how long a two-star general can serve in the Nevada National Guard with the same active duty counterpart, so they could both serve to age 65. This is another step in that direction with very minimal impact. I think there's more work we can do down the road, but I really want to thank this body for bringing it as a committee bill. This is so very important to a lot of our troops who serve in that dual mission capacity, where they have a state mission and a federal mission, and they shouldn't have to worry about what's going to happen with their family should something happen. So thank you very much, and I'll be available for questions as soon as the tag is done.
Well, good morning, members of the Assembly. Again, Dan Waters, the Adjutant General, for the record. It's a true honor to be up here with two amazing veterans. Marine Corps, obviously, with Assemblyman De Silva, and the Nevada Air National Guard with with the chief sitting right next to me, Chief Gray. Just two incredible people that have served and understand exactly what's going on. So I appreciate you taking the time today to hear this. How this came to be is we had a staff sergeant that was working with our Youth Challenge Academy on state active duty. Just a little side note, we no longer have members on state active duty. Now we have full employees out there, but he was filling a gap for us, a critical gap, to make sure an important program to Nevada had continuity and could continue providing the services that were needed to those youth as they got their lives back on track. Unfortunately, he was killed in a car accident en route to the Youth Challenge Academy. Hit a patch of ice in eastern Nevada, Lincoln County, lost control of his vehicle, and spun in front of a semi-truck. Killed. Of course, that's a traumatic event for the family. What was more traumatic is the ambiguity of the definition of in line of duty and how that ultimately resulted in the declination of certain services and benefits to his family. Fortunately, in Nevada, we have some amazing community partners, such as the Nevada Military Support Alliance that was able to step up and pay the burial bills. What I'm here to tell you is I don't necessarily think that's the direction we want to go as a state when we're looking at somebody who was killed on state active duty and we're not providing the benefits that a cohort who's in the exact same situation would be killed, and the federal benefits that would be provided, that is. I think we have a good working product. What I would tell you is when we put people on state active duty, how we determine once an accident has occurred, a line of duty investigation, how we define that, how we determine that is through an investigation. And so working with both Assemblyman De Silva and Gray, I look forward to putting the specifics on this bill and putting it where it's applicable for Nevada, type of thing. I understand we're in a human business and things are going to go wrong, but making sure we have that coverage for our soldiers and airmen when they're on state active duty and providing that service to the state in the line of duty and providing those services and the care to their families if ever needed, I think that's critical definitely to it, and I look forward to working with you on this bill.
And with that, Chair, Ruben De Silva for the record, we're ready for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. We do have a few questions. We will start with Assembly Member Goulding.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, gentlemen. Can you give us some idea of the scope of the difference between the state and the federal compensation? Doesn't have to be exact, but just sort of rough numbers.
Dan Waters, the Adjutant General for the record. Yeah, what I would say, ma'am, is we're not trying to 100% duplicate all the federal benefits. What we've done is prioritize those in the top three. A death gratuity, for example, and just like I talked with the unfortunate incident the Nevada National Guard experienced, providing that burial expense services right up front so the family can provide that service. The survivor benefit. So, and this is already written in 616 of Nevada Code. So 66 2/3 of pay, basic pay going, or base pay, I should say, going to the family members to provide that care so they actually have an income after a service member were to pass away, type thing. And then education benefits. And again, education benefits are already outlined in Nevada law, and I believe that's 396, if I'm not mistaken. And so making sure that those, we've already got the ability to transfer education benefits from the state, such as the tuition waiver when a member is alive. What we're saying is make sure, provide that capability that if a member is killed on state active duty, that we can still transfer those education benefits to surviving spouse and surviving children if need be. So those are our top three. There are numerous other benefits provided by the federal side type thing, but what we wanted to do is make sure that we actually had a responsible fiscal piece and responsible recovery and response for the need that we have. Now, I would tell you, fortunately, this has only happened once. So that is a true blessing for the state of Nevada and Nevada National Guard. But what I can tell you is I don't want it to happen again and then be in the same situation when I have to look somebody in the face and tell them they're not getting benefits that they think they owed or deserved because their federal cohorts would get the same benefit.
Ruben De Silva for the record. And just to build on that a little bit, so the original bill would mimic federal benefits to any member of the National Guard who was on state active duty who would have been either injured or killed. So in order, again, to be fiscally responsible here, we looked at just certain sort of ways of already in place Nevada law to then be an extension of those benefits to the families. We have education benefits. We have other benefits that are already in NRS. So that's part of the actual language there that's in the amendment to make a more direct connection there between those aspects. And yet, again, to really highlight the general statement here about the death gratuity, that's the real sort of need here. We don't really have that. I know we have the Nevada Occupational Disease Act and the Nevada Industrial Insurance Act in place, but we wanted to really specifically focus on this benefit, being that important sort of like at the moment need that these families are really faced with when they're found in this sort of a crisis. Thank you.
For the record, Assemblyman Ken Gray again. I'd like to bring up something that's also pretty important to Nevada, but especially Northern Nevada. We rely on, especially before we had the MAFS units, we rely on the Nevada Army National Guard and their helicopters for firefighting. They do their water drops, but those guys are put in a very hazardous position. And correct me if I'm wrong, Adjutant General, but we, at least we used to, you put those guys on state active duty, and that was always a concern for me as well.
Dan Waters, Adjutant General, for the record, that is true. If it is a state fire on state land, it is the state's responsibility to pay for the service, and so that is done on state active duty. And so what we're really talking about here is if someone were to be injured or God forbid, killed, what would be the benefits that would be provided? Injured is another specific example. If there's an egregious injury, something that would prevent somebody from working, the only safety net we have right now is workers' comp. And so for our crews to actually have that as the fallback, it doesn't necessarily respond or equate to the risk that they're taking at that point.
Thank you. Our next question is from Vice Chair Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, General, for your service. Of course, to all my colleagues for your service as well. Just wanted to kind of look at the language in terms of what's in front of us. The equivalent part is great. I want to make sure that we maximize all the benefits. Just kind of like a scenario. Could there be in the future where state benefits may be greater than the federal benefits? Unlikely scenario, however, it could happen, right? Do we want to put language in there that would be, whichever benefit is, it's either equivalent or greater, that they still have access to it? I'm not sure if folks will be in situation of similar, where they're moving from another state or they're moving to another state and they still get that benefit. And sometimes certain states have benefits that are greater than federal. I don't know if that's the likely scenario, but I'm just trying to make sure that we have enabling language that would maximize so that however the benefits, if they are greater, state are greater than federal, for example, that the family would still benefit from the maximum versus just the minimum. So I just want to throw that out there.
Assemblyman Gray, for the record. There could be a possibility where at one point one of the benefits may be greater. I don't foresee that ever happening. I mean, the federal benefits, they tend to keep pace with the economy. But as a total package, absolutely not. It would never exceed what's available on the federal side.
Okay, our next question is from Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair.
Madam Chair, really quick, if I may, to kind of add on to that, just Assemblyman Nguyen, so as members of the Nevada National Guard, let's say, go between states. Dan Waters, Adjutant General, for the record. As members of the National Guard go between states, you're exactly right. There are different benefits packages in each state, type thing. So you're definitely right on that. The specific things for Nevada would be applicable to members of the Nevada National Guard. So it wouldn't be like someone from California. I just wanted to make sure on that. Or if we were supporting a mission in California on state active duty, which is possible, the Nevada law would still apply to our members operationally on state active duty, regardless of where they are. And I would add to Assemblyman Gray's point that he's exactly right. I think the state of Nevada actually does a fantastic job of making sure we have the benefits. Now it's just clearing the definition to make sure that ambiguity is gone and there's no legal question on which benefits are provided. When the law, when I read 916, it's very generous in what it actually could provide. We just need to make sure that it's applicable to members of the Nevada National Guard when they're on state active duty.
Ruben De Silva for the record. And I'll just say for the record, that anytime there's an opportunity to actually expand benefits for our guardsmen, I'm down for it. I know we have to work with the governor as our commander-in-chief of the guard, but I think we should always be open to that notion. So you could have a situation where state benefits could even outweigh and be larger in terms of the services they provide to the guardsmen and their families. I think we should always be open to that conversation. So thank you, Assemblymember Nguyen.
Just want to thank you for that, all the answer. And I think my concern too is like what you just mentioned. There are times where scenarios, what happened where the guard may be in Nevada, but their family may be living somewhere else, right? And so if something happened to them and they may be living in a state where, the state's benefit in that states are maybe a little bit better than Nevada, for example. So just because of the scenario of our military families are never in one place altogether, right? So if there are scenarios like that, we want to make sure that they get the maximized benefit. And I just want to make sure that we in Nevada think about those kind of things.
Assemblyman Gray, for the record, I want to apologize, Assemblyman Nguyen. I totally skipped the second part of your question, but no, you're absolutely right. So when you're a member of the National Guard, you're a member of that state. It doesn't matter if you live there or not. When I was in a flying unit, we had people coming from Hawaii that would do their weekends with, the unit. There were people that, depending upon where your job was and where they had an opening, and if you needed to move into a different position to move up, you would, you could leave your home state and then join another state, but you're still going to commute between those states. But the rules, laws, and benefits apply from the state you're a member, apply to the member that you're a state of. Boy, I can't get that out. You're a member of the Nevada Guard, doesn't matter where you live. Nevada is going to be in charge of what you receive and everything else.
Assemblymember DeLong, did you want to ask a question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. General Waters, in your testimony, it implied that there might be another amendment or additional changes coming to the bill beyond what's posted on Nellis. Is that accurate, or what we see on Nellis as far as the amendment to the original bill, is that it?
Dan Waters, Adjutant General, for the record. Yeah, just to clarify, I wanted to make sure that if there were additional amendments or changes in the language, that during the work session that we're completely open to that, whatever the state may think, whatever this body may think is applicable to that. I don't know. Well, I guess what I'm saying is this isn't the end-all, be-all. So whatever adjustments we need to make that the best bill it can be, and frankly applicable in the how we want to apply the law, I'm completely open to that, and I'm willing to help you out and work with the Assembly however I can.
Okay, our next question is from Assemblymember Karras.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you very much for your service, all three of you, 4, 5, 6. It's just wonderful what all of you do and helping people in the National Guard. My nephew's in the National Guard, not in this state, but he is in the National Guard. I do have a question. Will there be a difference between a line of duty injury or possible death, God forbid, and any other unfortunate circumstances that the Guardsmen may face?
Dan Waters, Adjutant General, for the record. And this goes to exactly what I think Assemblyman DeLong was getting after in my comment. And that's what I meant. when we're on active duty, let's say a Title 10 or Title 32, a federal status, there is an in-line of duty investigation, and that's what we have to make sure we get right. Someone can be on state active duty and not necessarily have an accident or an injury occur in the line of duty at that moment. So it just comes down to Nevada law actually has this established, and that's where I'm thinking, how do we actually make this to where everything ties together to ensure we've got that exactly where we want it? That's the critical piece. So yes, ma'am, there is a difference between if someone were on state active duty and in the line of duty, then they would receive certain benefits, and someone who happened to be on state active duty but wasn't in the line of duty at the time and then got injured type of thing. And how we differentiate that, that's the process that I was alluding to originally that I think we have to definitely nail down to get this right.
Thank you. Follow-up, Madam Chair? Quick follow-up. Very quick. So this is the basis of this bill then, is to cover those scenarios?
Dan Waters, Adjutant General, for the record. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and our final question from the committee is from Assembly Member Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And you mentioned that it's only happened once so far. So I think that's what I thought I heard you say. So does that mean either it's never happened before or any other time they were already under a federal classification? Just want to be clear.
Dan Waters, Adjutant General, for the record. Yes, we've had personnel injured in the past. I would say, not fortunately they were injured, but fortunately they were in that status at the time, because the federal benefits definitely provide much more coverage now. And that's the thing we're trying to correct with state active duty. So you're exactly right. In my memory, have we had people injured on state active duty? Of course. But fortunately, we've only had one killed during a state active duty period.
Chair, may I have a quick follow-up? And in those spaces where they were injured, they were under federal status at the time, or were they under state active duty?
Well, Dan Waters, Adjutant General, for the record. We've had people injured in both statuses. We've had, unfortunately, several killed on a federal status, whether mostly deployed overseas. Nevada's lost a significant number. But fortunately, like I said, on state active duty, we've only had one loss. But that's still a big loss for that family, and how we actually take care of them and ensure they have the support they need in the long run.
Okay, that is the extent of the questions from the committee. We will now move next to testimony on the bill. A testimony can be provided here in person in Carson City, via video conference in Las Vegas, or over the phone. Further instructions for providing testimony on a bill can be found on the agenda. We will be maintaining a 20-minute time limit for the periods of support, opposition, and neutral testimony, with each speaker having 2 minutes. As a reminder, support means that you approve of the measure as written, or as written along with proposed amendments that have been approved by the sponsor of the measure. Opposition means that you do not approve the measure as written, including if you wish to propose amendments that have not been approved by the sponsor. And neutral testimony means that you are offering particular insight on the measure but expressing no opinion on it. We will begin here in Carson City in support of AB 281. Please go ahead and state your name.
Chair and committee members, my name is Andrew Lee Pilbit, for the record. I'm the chairman of the United Veterans Legislative Council for Nevada, representing the 250,000 veterans in our state. And when you take their families into that count, it's about 500,000 Nevadans. Anyway, we're in fully support of this bill. It's actually long overdue. It's not just those that have died in the service, it's those that have been injured in many ways. And this fills a gap that's needed to be filled for quite a few years. So we support the bill, and we support the bill as the proposed amendment from De Silva as well. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and Committee. My name is Joshua Skaggs, and I am the Legislative Director for the Nevada Republican Party, here today in support to AB 281. We are in support of 281, which will properly and fairly compensate Nevada National Guard members and their families. And we thank the committee for bringing this forward to support our dedicated Guard members. And thank you to the service of the presenters. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City wishing to support Assembly Bill 281? Seeing no one approach, we will go to Las Vegas. And if you're in Las Vegas, please go ahead in your testimony supporting AB 281.
Good morning. My name is Christiane Mersch, last name Mersch, and I'm here in support of AB 2181. As a mother of a National Guard, a Nevada National Guard soldier, I see this bill very important. I'm a proud naturalized American citizen, as my daughter is, and I'm so proud to see her wearing this uniform. And I'm here to support because this bill will enhance the benefits and compensation for Nevada militia members who are wounded, injured, or killed during state active duty. This bill proposes and provides compensation and benefits for Nevada militia members and their dependents. This is that are equivalent to federal benefits that they would receive if they're injured, or if they have a disability or death occurred during their militia service. So I'm here in support. I urge all our assembly members, because this is a very important bill. We need to take care better of our soldiers. They're fighting for our freedoms. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support of Assembly Bill 281? I can't see the rest of the room. I don't see if anyone else is approaching. Seeing no one approaching the table, AVH will go to you. Is there anyone on the phone in support of AB 281?
To testify in support on AB 281, please press star 9 on your phone to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in support at this time.
Thank you. We will now move to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 281? Seeing no one approach, we'll go to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 281? Seeing no one approaching the table, AVH, is there anyone on the line in opposition of Assembly Bill 281?
To testify in opposition on AB 281, please press star 9 on your phone to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in opposition.
Thank you. And finally, we will move to neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in the neutral for AB 281? Seeing no one approaching the table, back to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify on AB 281 in the neutral position? Seeing no one approach, AVH, we're back to you. Is there anyone on the line for AB 281 for neutral?
Testify in neutral on AB 281, please press star 9 on your phone to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in neutral at this time.
Thank you. And I'd like to invite the presenters back up for any final remarks.
Ruben De Silva for the record. Chair Constantine, Vice Chair Nguyen, and members of the committee. Again, thank you for considering this bill. You know, our National Guard service members lay everything on the line in service of this state and this country. And I strongly urge your support and passage of this bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 281. And I am opening the hearing on Assembly Bill 235, which revises provisions relating to healthcare providers. To present this measure, we have Assembly Member Roth. Go ahead when you're ready and introduce your co-presenters.
Good morning, Chair Considine, Vice Chair Nguyen, and members of the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs. My name is Erica Roth, E-R-I-C-A-R-O-T-H, and I'm proud to represent Assembly District 24 in Washoe County. Thank you for the opportunity this morning to present AB 235, which seeks to protect reproductive health care providers from increasing and pervasive harassment and violence. With me at the table is Lindsay Harmon, Executive Director of Planned Parenthood Votes Nevada. Our reproductive health care providers ensure women and families are able to access life-saving health care in this state. However, they are facing increased violence and harassment for this work. Stalking and threats of harm or death directed towards abortion providers have been reported to have increased 200 to 900% since the overturning of Roe v. Wade in 2022, while stalking incidents more than doubled in that time as well. One of the most insidious forms of violence to emerge over the past decade is doxing, or the public release of personal contact information to facilitate the harassment of individuals. Currently, data mining firms have begun utilizing public records requests to access reproductive healthcare providers' home numbers and addresses to then release that information to people seeking to cause those providers harm. Our healthcare workers should not be put in a position where their lives or well-being are in danger simply for doing their jobs. And AB 235 provides us one method for protecting them by allowing reproductive healthcare providers to petition to hide their home addresses and information from public view. I will now turn the presentation over to Lindsay Harmon, Executive Director of Planned Parenthood Votes Nevada, to walk you through what's happening here in this state, and then I will walk you through the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Lindsay Harmon. That's spelled L-I-N-D-S-E-Y-H-A-R-M-O-N, and I serve as the Executive Director for Planned Parenthood Votes Nevada. AB 235 will allow the current provisions for fictitious addresses to extend to reproductive health care providers in Nevada. These providers and their support staff, who provide legally protected services with compassion and the highest levels of quality medical care, deserve to be protected in their homes. We must all acknowledge that the political environment in recent years has become more and more divisive, and in some cases, for health center staff, dangerous. Recent data shows the U.S. has seen a 538% increase in people obstructing healthcare entrances, a 913% increase in stalking of health center staff, and a 113% increase in bomb threats. We should never forget Dr. George Tiller, who in 2009 was fatally shot by an anti-abortion activist while he attended church service. Nor will we forget the Colorado Springs shooting, which is not long ago, where an anti-abortion activist shot and killed 3 people in a health center, including 2 patients and a police officer. Just in the last year, in Nevada, providers and Planned Parenthood staff have been targeted with religious mail at home, have had anti-abortion literature physically dropped at their house, have received countless threatening phone calls, and experienced threatening incidences within the health centers in Las Vegas. In one recent incident, Nevada Right to Life even encouraged their supporters in an email to call in the locations of our signature gatherers, which I'm sure you're all familiar with question 6, who were then subsequently stopped by police with false reports of breaking into cars and robbery. And now, most recently, within the first 20 days of his presidency, Trump has pardoned violent anti-abortion activists and emboldened them by putting reproductive workers at risk. While this fictitious address bill will not solve all of these issues, because we're just talking about home addresses, it will at least protect providers in their homes where they should feel most safe. After the successful passage of the Nevadans for Reproductive Freedom Amendment by 64% in this last election cycle, it's clear that Nevadans believe in the right to access abortion and have a strong desire to protect that care in this state. We feel confident that Nevadans for Reproductive Amendment will pass again in 2026 by a significant margin. This legislation is an incredibly important part of the protection we need leading into that, 2026. Part of the commitment to protecting our reproductive rights is protecting the people who make that care possible. I urge this committee to pass AB 235 as part of their commitment to safety, regardless of political party. That's you.
Thank you, Chair. I will now walk the committee through the bill. This is a very simple bill. There are 4 sections. Each section deals with a different government entity. So this bill allows a reproductive health care provider to petition the court. This bill authorizes any healthcare provider who practices in reproductive health care, any employee or volunteer for a healthcare facility that provides services related to reproductive health care, any provider of gender-affirming care, and the spouse, domestic partner, or minor child of such parties to also request such court orders to make their addresses fictitious. Section 1 allows that for the county recorder's office, Section 2 for a county assessor, Section 3 for the Secretary of State, and Section 4 allows petitions to the DMV to have an alternate address on a driver's license. And with that, I believe we've concluded our presentation and are ready for any questions the committee may have.
Thank you for the presentation. Committee members, do we have any questions? I do have one question, and it is a request about the bill itself. The committee has received a lot of emails about this bill, and many of them may misunderstand it because they're focusing on I don't want to quote any one specific one, that doing this is lying and no one should be allowed to do it. So I just wanted to, if you wanted to go through the list of who else is already under these, so that anyone who believes that this isn't a system that already exists, that they know who else is underneath this protection. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Erica Roth for the record, and thank you for that question. There is already a long list of individuals in the state of Nevada who are able to petition the court to make their address fictitious. That includes, last session, we passed allowing any government worker to do that. So there's a long list of lawyers, judges, anyone serving in this body who can already hide their address for these very same reasons. It really is focused on professions and individuals who face increasing and pervasive threats in a growing politicized environment. And so this does not create some new special category for individuals who do provide reproductive health care. This simply adds them to a list of a very long list of individuals we've already deemed as necessary to allow them to hide their home addresses for public safety reasons.
Thank you. And we do have some additional questions. Our first question is Assemblymember Goulding.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, ladies, for being here. Appreciate the bill. Can you explain what happens when you, if an individual has a fictitious address, is it truly a made-up address? Or is it an alternative physical address? Or is it blank?
That's Erica Roth for the record, Chair, through you to Assemblymember Goulding.
Go straight to the
Thank you. Thank you for that question, Assemblymember. I actually don't know that answer. I believe based on how it's written for the DMV that there is an alternate address that's provided, but I'm happy to find that out and get that to the committee.
I can say that I know it's not blank.
Are there any consequences then on any other legal documents or any other legal process by having this fictitious address?
Erica Roth for the record. I don't believe so. This has been worked out through many other professions that are already allowed to do this. What it does is it hides it from public view. So somebody, for example, what's happening right now are there data mining firms who issue public records requests to obtain the home addresses of abortion providers from the county assessor's website or the county recorder. They then release those addresses to the public. This would stop that from being able to happen for them to obtain those addresses because they would be hidden from public view. It also won't show up even in simple Google searches, looking at voting records and things like that. So it is not the ultimate answer to protect everybody, but it is certainly a step in that direction.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Assemblymember Roth. I think you might have answered my question. It was hinging on the DMV portion for legal purposes if they have other situations and they present a driver's license as basically a false form of identification, how that would be handled, or maybe you didn't, so maybe that's kind of a twist on the other part of the conversation.
Erica Roth for the record. Thank you for that question, Assembly Member. I'm happy to go offline too and check with legal on this. What I will say is I liken it often to a P.O. box. There are ways for people to have mailing addresses or things of that like without actually disclosing where their homes are. And so we already kind of do that in a way. But this would then prevent in other instances of the county recorder being able to release that information or things of that sort.
Thank you. We have legal looking into it. We don't have the answer on that right now. Committee members, any other questions? Assemblymember Kasama.
Good morning, thank you. I just wanted to clarify with the reproductive health, and I believe this would be correct, but it would include clinics that provide abortion services, also clinics that provide anti-abortion services. So it would be anybody involved with women's health care. Would that be correct? They could apply for this.
Erica Roth for the record, and thank you so much for that question, Assembly Member. This is reproductive health care provider is defined in statute. And so if you look in any of the sections, provider, it's both reproductive, and then provider of health care means a person who is licensed, certified, or otherwise authorized by the laws of the state to administer health care in the ordinary course of business or practice of a profession. So, in the instance of, I think you defined it as a anti-abortion healthcare provider. I don't believe that there is any clinic in the state that is quote unquote anti-abortion that actually employs any actual healthcare providers. So they would not fall under this statute.
Seeing no other questions, thank you for the presentation, and we will move on to testimony on the bill. Again, testimony can be provided here in Carson City via video conference in Las Vegas or over the phone. Further instructions for providing testimony on a bill can be found on the agenda. And again, we will be maintaining a 20-minute time limit for the periods of support, opposition, and neutral testimony, with each speaker having 2 minutes. As a reminder, support means that you approve of the measure as written or as written along with proposed amendments that have been approved by the sponsor of the measure. Opposition means that you do not approve of the measure as written, including if you wish to propose any amendments that have not been approved by the sponsor. And neutral testimony means that you are offering particular insight on the measure, but expressing no opinion. With that, we will begin with testimony in support. We will begin here in Carson City for Assembly Bill 235, and go ahead when you're ready.
Hi, thank you, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, this is Denise Lopez, Director of Nevada Campaign for Reproductive Freedom for All. On behalf of the 60,000 members we have in Nevada, I'm here in strong support of AB 235. I would like to also thank Assemblymember Erica Roth for introducing this bill. Thank you. Healthcare providers, especially those offering reproductive and gender-affirming care, face increasing threats, harassment, and violence as seen in other states. And if we heard from the presentation, this bill provides essential protections by allowing them to keep their personal information confidential, reducing the risk to their safety and that of their families. This legislation is common sense. It ensures that healthcare providers can continue to do their work without fear of harassment or violence. By enhancing confidentiality protections, it also upholds Nevada's commitment to privacy, safety, and access to healthcare. The legislature should pass this bill to protect providers, their families, and the communities they serve. Thank you.
Hello, Caroline Mello Robertson, CAROLINE MELLO ROBERSON. I'm a lobbyist with Planned Parenthood. Just here to speak in support and thank Assemblywoman Roth for bringing this bill forward. I don't love that we live in these times where this is happening, but it is happening and it continues to get worse. I had a baby in 2017, and seeing my child on pages and ways that they are targeting me and the work that we do is really, it changes your life, right? It makes you really think hard about the way people act in these situations. So I'm very happy that the state is recognizing that work, and I hope that you all would vote in support.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Dr. Toby Fresholtz. For the record, it's Tobyfrescholtz. I'm an obstetrician gynecologist in Nevada, and I'm here in support of AB 235 because I can personally attest to increased safety concerns for physicians who specialize in reproductive health care. Reproductive health care and gender-affirming care does not happen in a vacuum. These providers, like myself, often also provide maternity care and other basic health care, such as primary care, and any harassment of these providers has the potential to deter them from offering other services. We should learn from our nearby states, such as Idaho, who are ranked last in the nation for access to primary care. Their provider shortage is due in some part to hostile reproductive health legislation, which has only driven providers away. Nevada should be proud to be a state that has passed legislation protecting access to reproductive health care. Amendment 6 passed in November with an overwhelming majority. However, legislation is only one piece of the puzzle. When it comes to access, you also need providers. If you want folks to practice in your state, you must make them feel safe. In case anyone is thinking this is not a concern grounded in reality, recall that this administration has already pardoned more than 20 people convicted of attacking and harassing abortion patients in clinics, an act which sends a message that this hostility towards patient and providers is tolerated. AB 235 is a no-brainer. Nevada is a pro-choice state already facing a profound provider shortage. This legislation sends a message that Nevada protects healthcare providers. I urge you to support AB 235. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Sarah Adler with Silver State Government Relations, and this morning I am proud to represent both the Nevada section of the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists as well as the Nevada Advanced Practice Nurses Association. So the members of both of these associations are active providers of reproductive health care and women's health care and primary health care, as the doctor indicated. And they think this bill is very important. I myself, in working with ACOG this session, have learned way more than I wish I knew about syphilis and congenital syphilis. So the care that's being provided is not only related to reproduction, it's also related to these infectious diseases and making sure that they are not passed on to children. I also just want to bring out for your information that also this session before you is AB 150 of Assemblymember Orton Licker that is seeking to provide the same confidentiality protection to tribal judges. And unfortunately, they have a need for it as well. So ACOG and NAPNA urge your support for AB 235 and appreciate Assemblymember Roth for bringing the bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Riley Svensson, RYLEY-SVENDSEN, and I am the Policy Specialist with the Nevada Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence. Reproductive freedom is violence prevention and intervention, and as such, we need to protect the healthcare providers who dedicate their careers to providing these critical and essential services. AB 235 is an important step and sends a clear message that the work that they do is essential for our community's safety and that their lives have value. To put it simply, when victim survivors have equitable access to the reproductive health care they need, whether it's in the form of contraception, family planning services, or abortion, their agency and autonomy increases. When individuals have agency and autonomy over their own lives, we can prevent violence before it starts. Protecting our healthcare workers ensures that individuals have such agency and autonomy. Not only does AB 235 protect victim survivors, it also protects our brave healthcare providers from harassment and potential future violence. AB 235 is critical violence prevention, and for this, we ask you to please support it. Thank you.
Good morning, members of the committee. For the record, Tess Opferman, that's TESSOPFERMAN, here on behalf of the Nevada Women's Lobby, a voice for women and families in Nevada. I want to thank the Assemblywoman for bringing this bill forward. It is truly unfortunate that a piece of legislation like this is needed, but we have seen what is happening nationally in terms of increased violence. We've seen what's happening here in our state. And so with that, we are in full support. We need to protect our doctors. We need to protect our healthcare providers and make sure that they can continue giving healthcare services to everyone in our state. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chair Constantine, Vice Chair Nguyen, and members of the Assembly Government Affairs Committee. My name is Jacqueline Nguyen, Nguyen, and I'm the Policy Director for the Nevada State Medical Association, the largest and oldest organization representing physicians in our great state. The U.S., first of all, we recognize the importance of shared decision-making between doctors and patients, recognizing patient autonomy as a cornerstone of medical ethics, while also stressing the physician's responsibility to provide sound medical judgment when providing legally recognized care. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that healthcare workers in general are 5 times more likely to be physically attacked than any other type of worker. Therefore, today we're in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City wishing to testify in support of Assembly Bill 235? Seeing no one approach, we will move to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support of Assembly Bill 235? Seeing no one approach, AVH, is there anyone on the lines in support of AB 235?
Testify in support on AB 235. Please press star 9 on your phone to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. My name is Jessica Munger, M-U-N-G-E-R. I'm the Program Manager for Silver State Equality, Nevada's statewide LGBTQ+ civil rights organization. We are in strong support of AB 235. Health providers should not have to live in fear of their personal safety while providing important health care. It's imperative that our providers are able to practice health care safely. We urge your support on this relevant and important legislation. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Considine and members of the committee. My name is Sue Birch, S-U-E-B-U-R-T-C-H. I am the Executive Director of the Nevada chapter of the National Organization for Women. We strongly support AB 235 for all the reasons given by the presenters and by those who have testified so far. We urge you to pass AB 235 for the protection of our providers. Thank you.
Chair, there are no more callers in support at this time.
Thank you. We will now move to testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 235. We will start here in Carson City. Please step up to the table and begin when you are ready.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Melissa Clement, M-E-L-I-S-S-A-C-L-E-M-E-N-T, with Nevada Right to Life in opposition to AB 235. Privacy and safety are absolutely important. I would like to see AB 235 expanded to include other groups of people that face violence based on their business, their property, their viewpoint, or their beliefs. Yesterday, DogeQuest website made big waves. Names and addresses of Tesla owners were put on a map so that owners could be targeted. The cursor on the website was a Molotov cocktail. Yesterday, the Tesla dealership in Las Vegas suffered a terrorist attack where several vehicles were burned, resulting in dangerous lithium explosions. Closer to the subject of this bill, community pregnancy centers, nonprofit organizations that walk alongside women facing unintended pregnancies, offering the full range of choices, have suffered attacks, at least 96 documented attacks across the country since the Dobbs decision, including one at First Choice Pregnancy Center in Las Vegas. I would assume and hope that this bill will protect the doctors, nurses, staff, and volunteers at the same level as those at abortion facilities. Churches have suffered attacks as well. Since May of 2020, 491 Catholic churches have been the subject of violent attacks. Can we please add the pastor, staff, volunteers, and those in the pews to this important protection? Viewpoint violence is reprehensible and stands in stark contrast to our nation's core beliefs. I encourage the committee to amend this bill to include all victims of violence and those who live under threat. Without these important changes, Nevada Right to Life urges rejection of AB 235. And to correct the record, several of the pregnancy centers in Nevada do in fact employ licensed healthcare providers. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Karen England, Karen England. I'm a kitchen table activist, and I equip other moms and dads to advocate for their beliefs from the kitchen table. I was not going to testify on this bill, but when I heard some of the mischaracterization going on in the presentation, I felt the need to stand up and clarify a few things. Yes, there were some people pardoned. They were grandmothers who were in their 70s praying outside an abortion clinic. And I'm kind of sensing some real animosity towards religion here, and when you're characterizing receiving something in the mail, a religious mailer, as something that is considered harassment. I get a lot of mailers from Democrats, and I wouldn't consider that harassment, and that I need to falsely, and this is the other thing, we are not just hiding identities, we are approving the falsifying of a record for someone. And I just don't think we should do that. And if we do, then I think we need to include everyone with controversial viewpoints. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Janine Hansen, and this morning I am representing the Independent American Party as the chairman. The reason I chose to do that is because we are affiliated nationally with the Constitution Party, and we have deeply held beliefs in supporting constitutional rights. Under the law, equal means that everyone, regardless of background characteristics, should be treated the same and have the same rights and protections. This principle, often referred to as equal protection under the law, is enshrined in the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. The 14th Amendment states, "No state shall deny to any person within its jurisdiction equal protection under the law." This bill makes some people more equal than others. There are many who have experienced violence and continue to do so. This principle of equal protection is fundamental to a just and fair society, ensuring that everyone is treated with dignity and respect under the law. Many times I have been threatened. I had to go to great lengths to protect my children during a particular marriage between a man and a woman campaign. And I was arrested in Reno and handcuffed and put in a paddy wagon and sent off to the Parr Boulevard because I was petitioning. Ultimately, the ACLU protected me in court, and we appealed it all the way to the Supreme Court, and I was exonerated. So it's not just persecution and protection we need from individual people who seek violence against us, but even the government has been involved. I have, even in this building, twice I had to seek the protection of the legislative police in order to be protected from people who disagreed with my opinions. So there are many people besides those that are in this bill that are under threat of violence. That has happened to me many times. When I went to Lake Tahoe, my children were accosted and threatened when we were at the beach. And my office was picketed. And it was only at great lengths that I could protect my own home. So these people that are in this bill aren't the only ones. But in America, we believe in equal protection of the law, and all of these acts of violence are against the law. And so everyone should be protected equally under the law, and some people shouldn't be in a special class and be more equal than others. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good morning, Chair and Committee. My name is Joshua Skaggs, and I am the Legislative Director for the Nevada Republican Party, here today in opposition to AB 235. Our platform states we oppose medical treatment such as puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries that will sterilize or adversely affect the health of minor children. Gender-affirming care for children is absolutely inappropriate. Minors should not be subjected to irreversible medical procedures, including hormone therapies, puberty blockers, and other extreme surgical procedures that will leave them with costly medical bills and regret as they get old enough to make their own decisions. Existing laws offer anonymity protections for those working in the judicial system, law enforcement, etc. Over time, additional classes of people who may or may not face comparable dangers have been added. AB 235 seeks to add those who work in reproductive health care to this list. Why would a bill be created that creates anonymity and other protections for healthcare providers who practice abortion and gender-affirming care for minors? We have seen with heavily armed early morning raids on pro-life individuals like Mark Houck and Paul Vaughn that the true danger is to peaceful protesters who are targeted by the government for exercising their First Amendment rights to peacefully protest. Where are the protections for pro-life activists who prevent violent invasions on their homes and the trauma it causes to their family? Where are the protections for staff of crisis pregnancy centers or those who work for religious organizations seeking to educate on alternatives to abortion? If those on one side of this debate are to be protected, then as a matter of fairness, protections should be extended to all. For these reasons, the Nevada Republican Party opposes AB 235. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition to this bill? Seeing no one approach, in Las Vegas, we have some people at the table. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning. My name is Christiane Mersch. I'm on behalf of Nevada Right to Life, last name M-E-R-S-C-H. But today I'm going to speak as an individual. I've been arrested for being pro-life and also a minister. I've been praying outside abortion clinics, just giving information for women that wants to have more information about adoption. And I've been arrested. I've been stalked. I've been vandalized my car. Also, the pro-life clinic that I represent was vandalized right after Roe v. Wade. So we've seen the opposite, what the advocates for this bill are claiming for. We're seeing that the other side is being more harassed and attacked. And so we want a protection also because we should be equal. Also, we are concerned that this bill is going to let the public unaware of bad abortionists and providers of sex change surgeries. We had an example here, Dr. Levi, that he killed 2 patients with butchered abortions, and the public needs to make those providers accountable. So this bill, it weakens confidentiality, could obstruct regulatory views, risk patient safety. So unsafe practice, shielding providers may allow harmful or negligent practice to be continued and unchecked. Also, unwarranted legal privilege. These people should not have privilege if they are killing women during abortion. So we're extending privacy protections to them like they're superheroes. This is so immoral. There's ethical implications. Also define abortion as a standard for reproductive health. This could normalize and develop woman born. And this is another misleading about the abortion industry, that abortion is reproduction right. No, reproduction means that you have the regain to produce. So when you're pregnant, you already had your right to reproduce.
Ms. March,
abortion
I'm sorry, that's your
terminates a baby.
2 minutes.
Terminates a baby.
If you could please wrap up, it's your 2 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Elishaba Delote, D-E-L-O-T-E, and I'm representing here as a regular Nevadian citizen and as well as a pro-life and as well as a member of medical health. As both surgical nurse and a sidewalk counselor, I have witnessed firsthand the challenges and complexities of providing and navigating healthcare. AB 235, I opposed highly, if enacted, could create unlawful and harmful consequences for patients by limiting transparency and reducing accountability within our healthcare system. This bill risks creating the barriers to critical information that patients need to make informed, safe healthcare decisions. Furthermore, restrictions imposed by AB 235 could inadvertently jeopardize patient safety and trust, which are the cornerstones of effective care. I urge the committee to consider the dangerous precedent this legislation sets and the harm it could inflict on the very individuals it aims to protect. Even if you are an abortion-minded person, you want to know who can provide the right care for you. And if you are hiding behind the guise of this bill, you can harm that patient. You are just like Pontius Pilate washing your hands and removing your eyes to what is harming the patients. So either way, it harms both pro-life, life-affirming people, and also abortion-minded people. This has nothing to do with anything, but rather harm everyone in aspects. It's a circle. They're creating a circle to provide protections for themselves.
Thank you.
It should not be biased.
Thank you.
Should be equal.
Your 2 minutes are up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Assembly Member. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Grace Trujillo. I'm a mother of 3 boys, and also I'm a public health nurse. I just wanted to speak in opposition of this. I just wanted more fair, equal representations for all Nevadans, because this is only one-sided. We have a lot of people who are conservative here in Nevada, and we are misrepresenting them. The person who spoke, I agree with all my colleagues, the person who spoke about saying that we are not under any reproductive health. We do, because we're doing the post-abortive care for people. They don't have that in Planned Parenthood. They don't care for people who have been post-abortive. They cry and they feel depressed. They don't have that treatment, which is like unheard of when you do any type of surgery, also, or treatment. Also, when you with people in Alive and also the First Choice, all these entities serve people who wants to keep their babies. And why are we just protecting one side? We should be balanced when making any laws and not just making it to protect those who's providing. We should look at it and see if it's protecting, number one, the patient, number one, the consumers. Because what if the one who's performing, I'm just hypothetical, a pedophile? The person would not know. How can we put a trust there? So this will diminish the quality of care. This will diminish the trust between the clients, because we're hiding behind this bill thing. I agree with all my colleagues, and I urge you, please change and oppose this bill. Make it fair for everyone. Make it safe. We're talking about safety. There's a lot of attacks on Christians.
Thank you,
believers.
ma'am.
There's
I'm sorry.
increase.
That is your 2 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alex Slack, and I am a constituent here in the Las Vegas Valley. And while I do stand with everybody else who has grave concerns about the safety of people outside of the abortion or gender-affirming healthcare practices, I do just want to state my opposition for maybe black and white purposes of this bill, being that number one, I think it's very concerning that this bill was presented without having actual information as far as what does concealing somebody's address look like. And the fact that that was not addressed, or that you guys are seeking that on the legal side and still haven't presented that answer, I think that is something that needs to be considered. Is it fictitious or is it alternative? Those are things that we, I think, as constituents need to know about, especially if we're going to be presenting this bill forward or standing in opposition or support of. So that was really disappointing on that. Also, going through this handy dandy paper that you guys provide as we enter into this building, in section 1 at the bottom of, what is that, 3M, per this BDR, it says any provider of healthcare who practices in reproductive health would be able to receive this kind of service. And I'm not entirely sure what anti-abortion clinic is, but I do know that we do have crisis pregnancy centers here that do actually have doctors and healthcare providers on premises at all times. So the question of would they be able to have the same protection as abortionist or gender affirming doctors, I think that still needs to be answered by you guys. And without having these kinds of things, I think this is something that we really need to be able to discuss basically in a legislative manner, because that's what you guys are supposed to do, is provide us with what these bills are supposed to, what the intent of them is supposed to be. And I don't see that this has actually been presented here today. So again, I do stand with everybody else in opposition of this, obviously for moral and ethical reasons, but also for legislative reasons. This bill just does not stand. It doesn't seem that it's, it doesn't seem that it's competent to stand right here in Nevada.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you.
That is your 2 minutes. We have about a little bit more than 3 minutes left in the 20 minutes for opposition, and we still have some folks on the phone. So we will go to the last person sitting at the table in Las Vegas and then go to the phones. Again, if someone has said what you already feeling, you can please say ditto. Thank you. And go ahead, sir.
Yes, hello. My name is Frank Bella. I'm here in Las Vegas, and from what I'm listening to, it does seem rather one-sided to have equal opportunities for protection. As far as pastors, Christians, and other people, we face plenty of violent threats also throughout the country. There's something going on every day in a church opposed to health care for women, which is typically abortion is what we're talking about. And those that help, the pregnancy counseling centers, they also have a lot of violence towards them. I just think what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If those on one side of this bill are protected, then the other side should have equal protection. And this bill does not include pro-life advocates. Also, gender affirming for minors. I mean, what people do with their lives as an adult, 18 years old, is one thing. That's their business. But when we're influencing children who may regret this for the rest of their life, it's just out of line. And so I am definitely opposing this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. AVH, is there anyone on the lines in opposition to Assembly Bill 235?
To testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 235, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Hello, Chair. My name is Leslie Quinn. I am a registered voter in Clark County. Ditto to all those in opposition of AB 235. I ask my Senator in Senate District 8 and Assemblywoman of Assembly District 5 to stand with me in opposition of AB 235. It is disappointing to see how AB 235 encourages the destruction of human life. It supports practitioners doing harm in the murder of children via abortion and also transgender surgeries, perfectly normal children. These physicians who commit before they become a physician, and then when they do, to do no harm. Yet, AB 235 protects those that destroy life. It also supports the ongoing confusion of people to believe they are not enough as they were created. It is sad to see any legislator encourage the annihilation of life instead of the sanctity of life. Who else will this bill legally protect and kill? It is very clear in our existing laws that a woman can get an abortion up to 6 months and beyond that if done in a hospital and promoted by a doctor. And mental health care is one of the reasons. A lot of women are being fooled that they don't have autonomy of their own body. A lot of children are being confused that they're not enough because this is being promoted by those that don't really care about life. Please, all legislators, please oppose AB 235. Protect humanity and not its destruction. Thank you.
Thank you, AVH. If we can go to the next caller, we are running out of time. Thank you.
My name is Emily Nimna. I'm a Nevada licensed attorney, and I am testifying on behalf of Pacific Justice Institute Center for Public Policy. I have two specific comments. First, I'm deeply concerned that there was no ability to answer the question as to what a fictitious license or address would look like in a legal context. And secondly, and critically, I asked this committee to clarify and confirm unambiguously that this bill will protect all healthcare practitioners, including healthcare practitioners who do not offer abortion. Earlier in this hearing, Assemblywoman Roth told this committee that this bill would not protect any pro-life, anti-abortion healthcare practitioner. That is obviously inconsistent with the language of this bill, which states in Section 1, Part H, that a provider of healthcare means a person who is licensed, certified, or otherwise authorized by the laws of this state to administer healthcare in the ordinary course of business or practice of a profession. And for the avoidance of doubt, there are pro-life centers in Nevada that provide services from licensed OBGYNs, licensed RNs, and other qualified healthcare practitioners. Again, I ask this committee to confirm that this bill will not be discriminatory and will not refuse to protect individuals on the basis of their religious or viewpoints, and include protection for all qualified practitioners of healthcare, including those who do not provide abortion services. If that question is not answered, this bill cannot be passed and would not be constitutional. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Hello, good morning. My name is Lorena Biasotti. AB 235 sends the wrong message by allowing providers to operate in the shadows, concealing their identities. It raises a question: why would gender-affirming providers and abortionists want such secrecy? What this bill truly does is shield those who violate their oath to do no harm, allowing them to harm others without accountability. It ultimately protects those who are causing harm rather than ensuring public safety. The public is already suffering from a lack of accountability in public safety, and this bill only deepens mistrust in our legislators. Transparency is essential to building public trust. I urge you to vote no on this bill. Thank you.
Chair, we have no additional callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. And we will now move on to testimony in neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City who wishes to testify in neutral on Assembly Bill 235? Seeing no one approach, is there anyone in Las Vegas who wishes to testify in neutral on AB 235? Seeing no one approach, AVH, is there anyone on the lines in neutral?
If you'd like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 235, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral at this time.
Thank you. I would like to invite the presenters to come up for any final remarks.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. Erica Roth for the record. This bill is very narrowly tailored for healthcare professionals. So if a provider of healthcare at a crisis pregnancy center is licensed, they will fall under this bill. And it's that simple. This is a viewpoint neutral bill that ensures that any provider of reproductive health care is protected. Whether or not there are providers at crisis pregnancy centers who are licensed is a separate question, but we do invite any of those providers, if they exist, to petition when this bill is passed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I would like to go to our legal counsel to explain what she has found during this time.
Thank you, Chair. Sarah Delap, Committee Counsel. Under NRS 481.093, the legal effect of having an alternative address on a person's driver's license is that it prohibits the release of their personal information except as otherwise provided in certain NRS sections, specifically NRS 239.0115 and 481.063, and specifically 239.0115 authorizes a person to apply to a district court for a court order to inspect certain public books or records that have been in the control of one or more government entities for at least 30 years. And then the other NRS section, 481.063, authorizes, I believe, the director of the DMV to release the personal information in certain circumstances. And I believe that most of them relate to when other government entities need to have the information. I believe one of them was for if a traffic infraction, so that they can contact the person.
Thank you. I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 235, and we will now move on to public comment. Public comment is not an opportunity to rehear testimony on a bill, and we ask that you please keep your public comments to topics within the jurisdiction of the Government Affairs Committee. As a reminder, members of the public can provide public comment in person or telephonically and may submit public comment up to 24 hours after the meeting. Instructions for providing public comment can be found on the agenda. To provide public comment telephonically, please dial 888-475-4499. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 892-0090-4500, and then press pound when prompted for a participant ID. Each person will have 2 minutes to provide testimony. You may also submit written public comment to the committee up to 24 hours after the hearing. Please remember to clearly state and spell your name for the record. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to provide public comment? Please approach the table. Please state your name. You will have 2 minutes, and go on when you're ready.
I do. Karen England, and I just wanted to say something positive because I rarely am going to be up here. I'm in the super minority with what I believe, but I want to thank you. I travel the nation working in state legislators and testifying, and I want to say that Nevada as a whole does a really, really good job of giving access to the public, letting the public, no matter what their views are, voice their opinion before a committee, making sure that I give my card and I do it correctly, the way that the public is allowed, the everyday public person is allowed. This state, I have a lot of other issues with it, but this state is very, very friendly to civic involvement in citizens like no other state, and I very much appreciate that.
Madam Chair, my name is Janine Hansen. I just wanted to thank you for accommodating everyone that wanted to give testimony on the last bill. I appreciate that.
Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to give public comment? Seeing no one, we will go to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to provide public comment? Seeing no one approach, AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to provide public comment today?
To provide public comment, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to provide public comment at this time.
Thank you. That will conclude our meeting for today. Our next meeting will be Thursday, March 30th at 8 a.m. in room 4100. The meeting is adjourned.